We are AM 1370 WLTH and on the FM dial 92.7 W224EA, Gary, Indiana.
I'll count you down the last 30 seconds.
Beautiful. But it's really it has no power on its own. We the people give it power. We the people give it meaning with our participation and with the choices that we make. We the people give it meaning with our participation and with the choices that we make.
There's only one man clever enough to have perpetrated such a dastardly crime.
And I thought you were ready to give up.
If people call in, you want to take calls?
First revolution in the history of mankind that truly reversed the course of government, and with three little words.
We start getting them too early, right? Tell them we're gonna be taking calls, but
Tell
give
the
us a little bit.
government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast.
We the people give it meaning with our
30 seconds.
and with the choices that we make. We the people give it meaning
10
with our
seconds.
participation and with the choices that we make.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening, good evening. Good evening, Northwest Indiana and the region of Northwest Indiana. This is John Allen with an episode of We the People. We the People offers this disclaimer in the beginning of the show, and the views expressed by the host and callers of this show are not necessarily the view of WLTH management, owners, advisors, and sponsors. We welcome you today, August 18th, 2022, for the first episode of We the People. And I want to start off by establishing some ground rules. We encourage callers to call in. We encourage the callers, when they do call in, to identify themselves. And we encourage the callers to call in and offer any actionable information, comments, and opinions about the subject matters discussed on this show. In the future shows, we plan to have various guests from different walks of life. That's another reason why it's called We the People. And our focus is talking about subjects, not just what's trending, not just what's newsworthy, not just political, social, and economic subjects, but we want to top off these subjects by actual call to action after offering and receiving informative and valuable information on the subject matter. So in short, we're going to make sure this is not a complaint hour where we're just airing our grievances and hurling to and fro the finger pointing about any subject. And we respect all views. We welcome all callers from all walks of life to call in from any of the municipalities throughout the Northwest Indiana region. We encourage you to call in and listen up as well. So one of the subjects that we're going to talk about today, as far as laying our groundwork, we're going to invite the people to call in to talk mainly about how do you feel as a citizen in your prospective municipality? Do you feel that your quality of life is good? And hopefully it is. Do you feel it can be better and everything can use improvement? And what, if anything, or single primary thing you will point out that you think can make the quality of our lives better as us being we the people as here being governed? With that, I like to say, I need all of us to acknowledge, and most of us know, we're governed by consent. The founding fathers who founded this country, they didn't found this country kind of on purpose. It happened sort of accidentally. The reality of the story is that the King of England, because this was a colony, a British colony, the King of England didn't treat the people so fairly. And in light of them not feeling that they're treated fairly and the quality of life was poor, they all argued to the king in agreement that we want protection from our leadership. And one would say, well, what do you want to be protected from? There's nobody but you guys there. Well, we want our liberties protected. We want our rights protected. We want our ability to pursue our freedoms protected. We want them established and protected. And in doing that, we wound up creating a government. And the purpose of this government was to create an environment, in which we can do all those things. And in doing that, the government created laws, and they created 3 different branches of the government. And one of the branches, of course, as we all know, is the executive branch. And they execute and carry out by establishing departments and policies to make sure that these things are protected and sustained. A small example of that, let's take the EPA. Everybody would agree that we got a right or would like us to have good, clean air. So thus we have the EPA policing our air quality. We have the EPA creating policy and rules to make sure our air quality is good. Makes sense. Let's say we have the FDIC or different banking institutions or federal economic regulating institutions. Everybody want their money to be safe and the same. One of the problems they had early under the Articles of Confederation is every state was printing its own money. So some states would haphazardly print themselves out of debt by printing a lot of money, and they would circulate a lot of money in the public. And this was bad. So we wound up with a centralized government where the federal government took care of the printing of our money. So that's how that came to be. So my point I'm trying to make to us is that sometimes we don't like our government, but we need them and they need us. And in some cases it could be a love-hate relationship. Sometimes it could be a love-love relationship. But we can't do without order, and we can't do without some form of structure, right? So with that being said, I'm going to invite and encourage you guys to call in. Those of you who want to call in, and we'll take your calls, and we can introduce any topic that you want to talk about. But one of the things I would like to bring up, because I think it's a catch-all discussion, is I want to talk a little bit about how we got here. And what I mean is in this industrial area that we call the Midwest or Northwest Indiana. For me, being African-American, how it was explained that our coming to being here was the Great Migration from the South. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but in the 1920s, there were about 12 million Black Americans living in the U.S., with 75% of them living in the South, right? And because of the racial intolerance in the South, the sharecropping, which is something that I'll explain later, and the unjust treatment of those people based on their being different, a lot of them migrated here to the North to have jobs. So for example, an African-American man in 1920s or later during the migration, he may make about 75 cents a day working in the South. And here, for the same work or equal labor, he would make maybe $5 a day. So that prompted a lot of people to come here to Gary, to Chicago. Some people went as far as LA out west. And it was like the gold rush almost, where people came here to the factories and the mills and the meat packing plants to work. And it presented its own problems later, and it wasn't easy getting here, but it was better than the situation in the South. And that's how I came here in the first place. The reason why this story is important to me is that it brings me back to the reality that we all are here in some way or another to pursue a better existence from whatever we came from, whether we want to do better tomorrow than yesterday, etc., etc. So that's how we wound up being here. With that being said, I'm going to open the phone lines up for calls and see if we have any calls right now and give you guys an opportunity to give us a call. And we'll take a brief break if that's okay. So that way we can have some time for you guys to call in. You can call us up. For those that don't know the number, I'm going to give out the number real quick. It's WLTH 219 Hold on one moment. I want to make sure I get this number right because I botch it. 219-885-1371. Give us a call at 219-885-1371. We're taking callers tonight. Thanks a lot.